Welcome to the Hour of Empowerment. Today we are in Season 1, Personal Development, and Topic 2, Visionary Lifestyle. As you may remember, we have been discussing about the importance of vision, the challenges we may face, and the steps we should take as we lead a visionary lifestyle. Today we are in Episode 4, Interview. Our guest today is Dr. Daryl Green, who has been noted and quoted in several media outlets, including USA Today, Ebony Magazine, and Associated Press. And also his latest book has been rated #1 on Amazon.com. Daryl, thank you very much for joining me to discuss about the importance of leading a visionary lifestyle.
Well, Doc, I'm just so glad to be here. And I just want to say I admire you and what you're doing to try to change the world. I think you are a visionary yourself.
Thank you very much. Let's begin our discussion about your background and also what you're doing at this stage of your life.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from, we say, Shreveport, Louisiana. Graduated from Southern University in mechanical engineering. Married my college sweetheart. We went 3,000 miles away from home to a small place called Tri-City, Washington, working for the Department of Energy. Currently, I work for the Department of Energy here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and I am a professor also with Lincoln Memorial University. And what I try to do right now is try to help the community, write articles, write a national syndicated column, all trying to help individuals make good decisions. I feel if you can make good decisions, you can improve the quality of your life, and that's what we all always trying to do in terms of helping people live a better life, and it goes. They have to believe that, and that goes back to what we talk about: vision versus dreams.
I know that you have written some great books. Tell us the title and brief descriptions of the books, and how can we get them?
Well, I've written more than 30 books. Again, all my books are focused on helping people make better decisions. Right now, we have about between 15 and 25,000 million people unemployed. One of the books that I just got, you talked about, Job Strategy for the 21st Century, is actually written to help break down some of the stereotypes that most people misunderstand about what employers want versus what they perceive they want. So that's one of the books that I'm trying to help those people that are unemployed or want a better job. Another one of my books I think is very helpful right now in terms, it's called Breaking Organization Ties. There's one study that says that more than 40% of the people who currently are employed hate their jobs. And so one of the things, the book Breaking Organization Ties is a book to help individuals cope in terms when they're dealing with a job that they hate. And one of the other books that is now a textbook, it's called Impending Danger. It's the handbook for rethinking leadership in the 21st century. As we look now at our political leaders in the government, there's certainly a lot of gridlock, people not getting along. And so what I do, there is a gentleman, my co-author is Dr. Gary Roberts at Reading University. We teamed together and I wrote a book to kind of help leaders and government officials understand what they need to do to change the ship and to have more effective and efficient leadership. So those are some of the books that we have. You can get them at a bookstore, Amazon.com, or anywhere that you can find knowledge. You can pick up some of those books. So hopefully it will be helpful to your audience.
When did you begin your visionary lifestyle, and what was your first vision?
That's a great question. I would say biblically, I'm probably a dreamer. Growing up, I was also an artist, so I had my own cartoon characters, Super G and other things. But I think there's a distinction between talking about dreams. You know, dreams, we kind of think about dreams of being in a sleep state. When we start talking about vision, it kind of invokes power and compelling images. You know, so when you have those things, and of course you can have people that have those compelling visions or dreams. The difference is those visionaries are those individuals that take those thoughts and move forward. And so, in terms of that, I think I really started when I got I'd say a man in terms of having my own job, making my own money, moving to Washington State, and working as Department of Energy, and seeing in the community that we were living, there was a high risk group of individuals. So our church started a tutoring program. I think what's powerful about that was I was able to solicit working professionals to help with that dream. And so I think that's really where I kind of started in terms of putting those ideas and thoughts and dreams together to make them a reality. And that's really what being a visionary is really all about, taking those steps and moving forward.
Tell us the roles vision plays in your personal life, career, and business.
I think dreams have a very important role. There's as you're going to talk about individuals that don't have a vision lose it. So for me, it starts with my family. We currently have 3 adult children, but wanting them to all have an opportunity to go to college, putting those actions in place, saving money, loans, instilling in them, surrounding them with people that had dreams, that wanted to do better. And so they each had an opportunity. One of my oldest son, he's at home now, refocusing. But 2 of our kids, one is at Hampton, is a master, working on a master's in architecture, and our youngest son, he's a physics major at North Carolina A&T, and he's a physics major. And so all those things I think are very important. If you kind of instill those, and it's very difficult. As you know, it's one thing to preach and talk about being a leader and having those ideas. When you're really dealing with your spouse, dealing with your children, they really know, where the rubber meets the road. So I think it starts with your family, and then it works outward. For me,
as a visionary, how do you use vision to guide your life, decisions, and actions?
I think that's a great point, Doc. I think as we look at the financial crisis around the world, and if you're coming from a family that don't have much, you could feel hopeless. If you're in a situation where we say a lot of the recent college graduates are what we call underemployed, I think having those ideas, maybe I'm a janitor today, but I envision myself of being a manager, being an entrepreneur. So what I do is not take those dreams and actually take those steps that are necessary to be successful. You might say, well, I don't have any money to go to school. Where being a visionary means you're looking for steps and ways to do that. And one of the ways, right now, I'm actually taking a class and trying to encourage, there's a course called Coursera.org, where these prestigious universities like Harvard and Stanford are offering those classes for students to go free. So what that means is that you have to have enough burning passion to make you want to take that step. So I think those things are very important, and having that passion to really want to move forward.
How do we differentiate the difference between a person who has vision and who don't? And similarly, how do we tell the difference between an organization which is guided by a shared vision and an organization which is not guided by a shared vision?
Okay, that's a great question. That could be like the chicken before the egg. I think organizational dynamics is very difficult in terms of when you bring an organization together. People have different backgrounds, have different value sets. And if you look at the great leaders of our time, certainly Martin Luther King come to mind. There are tons of others. Patton, Truman. all these individuals were able to have a compelling message. So what you also have to be is you have to be a good communicator. So in your organization that separates themselves, most of those individuals, we say that they're transparent, and people can trust them. So the cornerstone of that is trust, and when you trust those individuals and you believe in them, you're willing to embody and to share a vision. You take those on. Organizations that just preach it, in terms of their the managers, the CEOs, don't really believe what they're saying. They're not communicating. They're not sharing information with their followers. It tends to loses its adhesiveness in terms of that. So that's how I kind of distinguish that. I think when you have trust, you have communications, and people, I would say believability. People believe that the leader has their best interest in mind. Then they say, you know what, I'm gonna follow that individual because that person is transparent. And I believe the values that they say align with mine, and I'm gonna follow him or her to where their vision takes them.
What about the individuals? The difference between a visionary person and a person without a vision. How do we tell? How do we differentiate?
Okay, that's another great point. When I was growing up, when I was say in junior high school, or we say middle school, there were young ladies that used to love to tease us young fellas. We had a lot of energy, had a lot of passion, and so they would just tease us and tease us and tease us. So we finally came up with a term called ATNO, ATNO, means all talk, no action. So in terms of the question that you asked me, there are a lot of individuals that talk about moving ahead and moving forward, yet they never do the steps in terms of preparation. They say, hey, I want to be a doctor. They never embrace going to school, surrounding themselves with people who want to do better. So that's what I say, a person that I would say an ATNA, all talking, no actions. As opposed to a visionary, that person is working day by day. Even, like I said, they're in a funk, they're in a position that might be considered lower or not as prestige, but they have built themselves a plan, built themselves a process to move themselves to the next level toward their vision. Now, the reality of the fact of the matter is, perhaps that individual never gets to that particular vision, but the person having that vision doesn't negate that they're a visionary, because they're taking those steps to move forward. And that's how I would distinguish a visionary between an all talk and no actions.
The wisest king Solomon said that without vision, people perish. Is this statement still applies after he said it thousands of years ago? And similarly, do you think that the lack of vision of leaders is one of the reasons why we have been witnessing the deaths of many organizations and some nations?
I think you're a wise man, Doctor, for saying that. King Solomon was wise. I think it is fitting as we see how globalization has really brought us home to roost in terms of reality. I do think it's applicable in terms of not having that vision. The example that I would give you would be everyone likes to take a good picture. And I would say if you go back to the root, you would go to 1888 and go to Eastern Kodak, where the company was thriving. They were making photos. The founder had a vision. They were making money. But something happened. The world changed. Digital media was in. Kodak was not able to make that transition. And in 2012, the organization filed for bankruptcy. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is that it's important that organizations put visionaries throughout the organization. Of course, most of the founders have that visionary aspect, but once that founder leaves, we find that most organizations struggle. I mean, you can look at even Walmart, Sam Walton, Disney. A lot of those organizations have drifted. And so it's important to instill that, and I think that we have to groom our leaders. We have to teach them, encourage them that having a vision, putting those things in place is very important. But as we look at organizations, what is the main thing that most organizations have done? Most businesses today have gutted their training department. And so what does that lead leadership? So the whole element that you speak so wisely about in terms of developing leaders are gone. And so that's why it's more challenging for these things to take place in terms of building visionaries.
In one of our previous episodes, I used an abstract of a book as a metaphor and explained about vision. As an author, would you please use this metaphor and elaborate for us how vision is the abstract of our future?
Okay, a great point, and you picked a good thing for me. So a book. So when we talk about a book is just an idea, and so it starts with an idea and a concept. And so if you're a young boy that perhaps one day wants to be the president, so you start thinking about it. So in putting together the book, you have to start writing the chapters. You have to start writing the chapters. You have to start organizing table of content. You have to start editing the book. And so in terms of the young man, that young man knows he wants to be the president. He starts doing well in school, surrounds himself with people that's successful, gets through elementary school, middle school, high school, goes on to college, becomes an elected official, and moves forward. So then you take the point as in the book that you at a stage now where you're looking to get it published, and so you find people that believe in you. That is what we call the publisher. That person believes in you and takes your story and takes your dream, and he moves forward and it's published. Well, taking that young man, he's an elected official. He started at a very low level, becoming an elected official. He moves on. He becomes a senator. He writes a book. People embrace him, and he's able to become successful in terms of all those disadvantages. And that might be perhaps President Barack Obama. But in terms of saying that having a vision takes a lot of hard work, but it also takes a plan. It takes surrounding yourself with good people to make those things take place. Just like a book, you have to have an idea, but you have to move beyond just the ideas. You have to put a process in place to move forward with those things that make you better. And at the end of the day, if you've done due diligence, if you've done all the things that you need to do to be successful, you put yourself an opportunity to make your dream become a reality.
Do you have some visionaries you admire? Please share with us some of the visionaries you admire and appreciate.
I think for me, it starts with my mom and dad. Growing up in Louisiana, in I'd say a middle class neighborhood. There weren't many professional individuals who grew up, but our parents had a dream that their kids would one day take care of themselves, that they would do good. And I think my mom operated. She was a chauffeur. My dad was a janitor, and my dad had like a sixth grade education, but that was enough to prepare me. So those were my first embraces of actually knowing what that means in terms of biblically. I mean, you have King Solomon, Jesus. I mean, you have those great biblical people. Again, John F. Kennedy. In some cases, Ronald Reagan. In terms of what he was able to accomplish in terms of that time frame. Churchill. So I have a whole lot of individuals that I admire because they were able to, Bill Gates, we talk about Steve Jobs, all these individuals were able to move an idea, a concept to reality. So I'm always thankful for that opportunity. And the last but least, Nelson Mandela. He has recently passed, but he was in a situation where it looked like it was hopeless in terms of that country, and he was able to bring those individuals together.
You mentioned great visionaries. What do you think are some of the challenges that may deny many of us to live a visionary lifestyle, and how could we overcome them?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, I think there's a couple of things. One of the biggest things is self-doubt. You say, I'm not big enough, tall enough, I'm not smart enough to achieve. You have a vision, but you're reluctant because of fear. Fear holds you back from reaching your goal and reaching your dreams. The other thing, so that's key. So that's an internal, a locus of control, believing that you have the control of your life and your fate. I think is very important. Second part of that again is having a positive network of folks around you. I believe no successful person in life could ever achieve having being surrounded by a whole lot of negativism and cynical folks. I think you have to surround, because in talking about vision, a lot of times you look at the Wright brothers. There are a lot of times when you talk about visions, you're saying and acting in a way that most people cannot comprehend or process. And so so like myself being married to my wife Daryl Green, she really thinks probably I'm peculiar in a lot of ways, but in enough ways that she understands and she believes in what I'm doing. And I think that's very important to have positive people around you in order to move beyond that self-doubt. Because we all have some sort of self-doubt in terms of life, because we have sometimes feel self-conscious about not being able to take that next step.
Let's say that someone hasn't started a visionary lifestyle. What are some of the quick but practical suggestions would you give to him or her?
Well, I think a good attitude goes a long way. I think being realistic about yourself and your abilities. I think also a quick study is look at those individuals, say Oprah Winfrey or other individuals that have gone and have achieved. And one of the things I tell them is reading is critical. Reading is vital. Just look at those individuals' bios, people that you admire, and just take a walk down their life and see how they did. And I think that reading is very important. And also just talking to people that you admire and trying to get a sense of how they did it, because I think there's nothing new under the sun. I think if you're able to link and network with those individuals, you can also achieve those same kind of results.
Let me ask you a final question. Do you have some tips or advices or suggestions you would like to give to our audience so that they may lead a visionary lifestyle?
Yes, I think one of the things is tuning into your empowerment show. How about that? I think you're doing a good, marvelous job. I think surrounding yourself again with positive people is one tip. Reading, take the time to read good materials. Finding mentors, finding mentors that are visionary, or a couple of tips. And again, believing in yourself, believing that nothing is impossible if you're willing to put in the work. And so those are a couple of tips. And I'm available anytime to share on a personal basis through email or through going to my website, darylgreen.org. But again, your show is a great catalyst in making it happen, empowering people and giving them the tools they need to be successful.
Thank you very much, Daryl, for sharing your ideas, stories, examples, and so on. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Doc, I appreciate you. Anytime you need me, I'm available. Thank you for what you do for the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dear our viewers, I hope that you have enjoyed our conversation. We have concluded topic 2, visionary lifestyle. And next week, we're going to have a brand new topic, which is living each day with a sense of urgency. So don't miss it, because whatsoever grand is your personal and organizational mission is, and whatsoever glorious is your vision, if you don't enter into a sense of urgency and pursue it, you can't really realize and actualize your vision. Therefore, don't miss it. Until I see you next week, have a wonderful time. Thank you very much for watching.